Welcome to Together Unprocessed, where five friends from across the world share real conversations about food, healing, and life. Let's get started. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Together Unprocessed. We were talking about what would be the best intro to give you, and really, it's just common sense. We'll tell you how we came together and what we're all about. So, to start off with, how do we come together? And, we were all on a quest of better nutrition, trying to figure out what would work better for us. And I'll speak for myself. I've been on this quest for quite a long time. Actually, I even did a course at the University of Manitoba trying to figure it out. And what I was doing was not working for me. My blood test showed that it wasn't working for me. And so I started digging deeper, and I ended up landing on Carnivore. And Carnivore has been working amazing for me. So I ended up joining Dr. Chafee's Patreon. And it was in there that I got to meet so many more people. And how did I meet those people? Is there's a segment part of Patreon, which is called Discord, which many people are familiar with. And it is our beautiful Olivia here who moderates it. And there's many different threads within the Discord that, different topics or whatever. But one in particular is Bone Broth Chit Chat. And this is where we could come and just talk about anything. If we had a particular incident or in our lives it was amazing, like having a baby, or if it was something that we were very sad about that we were dealing with, we would talk about it. And, we all got to know each other on even a more intimate level. And from there, our friendships was growing outside of Discord as well. So I think, if I remember correctly, and I think our longest talk was 3 hours or more. And because of everybody around the world and time, we had to cut it short. And we could have went for probably 5-6 hours easy. And one of the things that we would talk about after, we say, oh, that was so powerful. Why didn't we record it? And, my mind going the way my mind goes, I just wrote down a bunch of stuff. And I sent it all out to my friends you see here. And it's pretty evident that what their answer was. And we're saying, let's do it. So what are we about? We're just 5 people or friends around the world having real conversations about wellness. And when I say wellness, it's so many different categories of wellness. It's nutrition, it's physical, it's mental, it's spiritual, and everything in between. And some of our conversations are just, I think they're absolutely amazing. So one of the biggest paradigm shifts I had was, before all this, my world was very small. And sometimes I felt like I was so alone. And because of our conversations and getting to know so many people around the world, my world grew. And it grew because it was just so profound to me that somebody over in the UK, or someone over in Estonia, or someone in the US or Australia was going through stuff that I was going through. We were able to relate. And I've had many, many paradigm shifts within our conversations. So really, we are friends around the world trying to figure it out, just like you. That's what our podcast is all about. And we did discuss, when we were talking about it, everything we put into this podcast, the time as we're around the world, the efforts we put into it, and the money. We said, this is something we said, if we help just one individual, it's worth it. And that's what we're all about. If you want to know more, we'll have our mission statement below and a little bit more of a write-up. So I'm going to start with introductions. My name is Kim, And I grew up in a little tiny northern town in Canada, Ontario. And I was there to my very late teens. And then I ended up moving to another tiny town, even smaller than the one I grew up in. And I did a lot of different jobs. And the individual that I worked for, he ended up going bankrupt, and he wanted to move to Thunder Bay and asked me, because I was going through a lot of stuff then, and asked me if I wanted to come. And it's like, yeah, I want to come. And I ended up in Thunder Bay, Ontario, and that's one of our cities. And from there, I did a lot of odds and ends and different jobs and stuff like that. And it just wasn't a path. It was just a path I didn't want to be on. So I ended up taking a fork in the road, and I applied to Ontario Hydro and the military. And I said, whichever one contacted me first, I was going to go for. And it was the military. And how do you put it? The rest is history, they say. And I learned a lot. And even what I brought from all my experiences of being younger to where I am today, that's what I want to talk about. That's what I want to share. And that's what we're all going to be sharing. I'm pushing 63, and I will be learning right up to when I'm 115 years old. So with that said, I am going to pass the baton on to Olivia, who's going to talk to you a little bit about community, how powerful it is, and so how important it is. So without further ado, my friend Olivia, I'm turning it over to you.
Thanks, Kim, for that really inspirational opening. And hi to everyone, I'm Olivia. I've been in this wellness space for like the last 6 years. And it all happened when I decided to take a break from my corporate career. I'd been there for well over 2 decades, and always in kind of business and strategy, consumer side to the business and marketing. And when I was taking a break from work, I did a bit of a deep dive into looking into why my dad had type 2 diabetes. I actually Googled how to prevent getting type 2 diabetes, as both my parents had passed away from metabolic illnesses, and I realized that it was preventable. And I was very shocked to find that out. Frustrated, annoyed, because I had, nursed and cared for my parents for a decade, along with my siblings. And so I thought, what on earth is going on that we do not know? People who are educated and doing the best they can to make the right decisions every day don't know that these diseases that we're all scared about, we all want to, hope that we don't get, we all think is genetic. How do we not know that it's preventable? And not just risk lowering, but preventable, completely preventable. And that left me in a position where I thought, do I want to go back to a corporate world where I'm convincing people to take up a product, or do I want to stay in this nutritional world and convince people that there is a different way they can live their life that will really protect them from the risk of these diseases? And so the latter is what I decided to do, and that's changed everything. We have been in in a position where we're trying to. I'm involved in a charity, and our charity is trying to make that change at the top and speak to people who have the power of changing, our dietary guidelines, for example. And there isn't much interest right now. A lot has changed in the last year, but generally over the last few years, there has not been any interest in changing it top down. So we concluded that the only way to change is bottom up, is grassroots up. And that was an interesting challenge to me, because with my background in marketing, that is all about how do you get common people who are not from a medical background especially, to actually make this change. And it's going to have to come, as I said, grassroots. And that grassroots can only happen if we are connected, if we are talking, if we are communicating, if we are sharing, if we are agreeing with each other, and able to do that in a real and authentic way, so that we can form a community and the community can make change. And so for me, I thought, because I've always love thinking about challenges of behavior change, how we get people to change their minds. And for me, where we are, we need to have community, and community is what is the grassroots that is going to make eventual change. So that's where I've come from in terms of my perspective on this. I'm hugely passionate about having people connect authentically. I mean, Kim said that I moderate a community. I don't moderate it. All I do is just allow people to be themselves, be adults, talk to each other. We don't have moderators. We just have individuals that connect and speak authentically. And it's just brought so many learnings, so many experiences that I think have helped us all on this journey that we're on, because we're talking to each other all the time. We know each other personally. It's not like a community, I'd say, like, a public community where you have to be very careful about what you talk about, the rules and the regulations, and there's moderators kind of deleting your comments. It's not like that. We're talking as adults, and we're being adults, and we're discussing a large number of topics, not just nutrition and wellness. So what we found is that what that's filled is a gap where people can not feel alone as they're progressing through a difficult time in their lives. It can be very difficult to make change when no one else is doing that. And we've also allowed ourselves to challenge ourselves. We didn't want to be also a vacuum and a void of just one type of way of thinking. So we've challenged ourselves all along the way. And I think where it's left us is somewhere where, we have really good quality information, because where we all challenge ourselves already, we challenge each other, and we have some amazing people in this community that bring more information every day that we all learn from. So it just exponentially increases our ability to be better and to grow and to learn. And we found that to be really powerful. It's way beyond what I ever expected it could be. And it's very exciting that I think communities like this can exist. And that's why we want to share it. So we don't want it to be too insular, because not everyone's going to have a chance to be part of a community, and it's much harder, I think, to not be part of one. So that's what we're trying to do with this, is to share some of the the kind of the togetherness, the interactions, the kind of the quality of the information. It'll be easier for people to maybe hear a perspective from a layman's point of view, but a very well researched point of view, where it's been challenged by other people, and where we're all netting out in different places potentially, so you can hear different perspectives. So hopefully that will be really interesting to people to hear, because I don't think there's much like this out there. You'll always hear normally one person's point of view, and then you have to go away and compare it. Well, we can do some of that comparison. We can save the time of people having to research all manner of different topics, and you can get multiple people's well thought through perspective. So we'll try and make it well thought through. So that's my that's my intro, and so very proud to be part of this, and thanks Kim for setting it up. So Cindy, do you want to go?
Just Cindy, 1 second. Sorry, Olivia. I just didn't know what word to choose, so I used moderator, and I should have never choose it. Thanks for the correction.
That's okay.
People need to know that.
It's a good chance to just make that point, because it's important. It's a difference. It's a distinction we have. I think
there is. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, that's a good point, you guys. And I just have to say, so it was a great introduction, Kim. I don't think you guys know this, but the Bone Broth Chit Chat, the first time I went, I literally thought that you guys were having conversations about how to make bone broth. And that's what it was about. And I was getting ready to do a fast, and I was like, okay, I really should find out. I need to get on this chit chat, And then I realized you guys were just chatting about stuff. I kept waiting for like this talk about bone broth. Anyway, it came at a really great time for me, because I was feeling very lonely in my world in general. And it's been just such a welcoming place. So to introduce myself and who I am, I have also been in the wellness space for over 35 years now, which is kind of mind-blowing. But I started out as an accountant, and I grew up in Toledo, Ohio, which is, heart of Midwest there. And I had no idea about wellness growing up. Nobody talked about it. And I was in a class where I just took for fun, and they talked about, it was exercise and health. And I found out that there was this field called exercise physiology. And I was like, what? That sounds like fun. So I went down that path and decided to do graduate school and become a PhD in nutrition. So I took, graduate level biochemistry classes and all of this. And I realized this stuff isn't making sense. Like, I was connecting the science world to the wellness world, and I'm learning this chemistry and looking at what we're telling people in wellness, and it wasn't adding up. So it kind of ties in with what you're saying, Olivia, like the shock that, why do people not know that these diseases are preventable? And I literally interviewed at 7 different graduate schools for nutrition and decided it wasn't for me, because this wasn't adding up. So I decided to go into physical therapy and do a PhD in exercise science further into biomechanics. And so what I do in my world now is, again, I had to leave the traditional health environment as a physical therapist because I learned about fascia and myofascial release with the John Barnes myofascial release approach. And so here I thought I was going to do academia and teach, and realized when I started doing this work that people needed this work so much that I needed to kind of shift. And so instead of teaching students, my students would be my patients and my clients. So that's what I've been doing the last 30 years as a physical therapist, is focusing on movement and the body, as far as helping people who have tried so many things. And in that world, it's taught me that traditional medicine doesn't know everything, and they don't understand this world of fascia. And John Barnes, he pioneered the way 50 years ago and was really ridiculed, and thank God he stayed the course, because now I understand so much more about what's going on in the body because of that training that I had in the work that I've done. And I'm learning every day. I'm still learning with every patient. It's just, it's amazing. So back in my wellness beginning, I was learning about nutrition, of course. And so I went down this vegetarian path. And part of it was because I love animals and I didn't want to, I wanted to like save the animals and all of that. And I was not doing well. And so I had several years, nearly 10 years of being vegetarian, and worked great. I kind of figured that out. I started eating meat again. This is many years ago. And then in the last few years, started finding out that, maybe I really need to even dive into this more. So I was eating meat already. I started seeing things pop up about carnivore and keto, and really started to pull up my biochemistry hat again, and decided I needed to do this. And there's no way I could do this by myself. I needed a community. So I'm a single mom of teenagers, running my own business, going through all kinds of difficulties the last few years. And I popped onto this Patreon group, and it has really helped me stay. And I still don't stay the course often, but we talk about that too. And there's no judgment, and there's just understanding and help with each other. And I think, the behavioral aspect of this, like being able to understand myself better. And I think what's been fun too is knowing that there's people all over the world. So it's been great meeting you guys, and just hearing how there's things so similar halfway around the world, and connecting with all of you. It's really been great. So I'm here to learn and share and just have fun, because I don't do really anything social either in my life. I'm so busy. And so this is kind of like social time for me too. So anyway, with that, I will pass it on to Ashley.
Hey everyone, great introductions. I love hearing your stories over and over. It reignites the passion in me every time. So I'm Ashley. I live in Tasmania, Australia. I'm a wife and a mum to 2 teenagers, as well as many other furry and feathered animals that seem to be added to our collection. I do wear many hats. I run my own business. I help my husband with his, do social work, and then just help in the social space and just helping people. And then I follow my passion of health and wellness, which I've always been interested in, but I've only really sort of focused in it more in the last sort of 5 or 6 years since the pandemic. Before that, it was more yo-yo dieting, or starting something and then not finishing it, or just life always got in the way. It wasn't until sort of about 2 or 3 years ago, because I've been doing this about 2.5 years, that I found Carnivore by accident, because I was actually deciding to go back to being vegetarian or vegan. And a podcast was given to me about Dr. Chafee's That Plants Are Trying to Kill You. And that just sort of set me back into my passions, because at my core, I just want to investigate and learn about health and wellness. So it set me on the path where I ended up just deep diving into carnivore for 2 months, 3 months, before I actually then realized that I needed to do a full 360. And I signed up to Dr. Chafee's 30-day challenge, where I think I first met Kim. And I did that for a couple of months. before I joined the Patreon community, because I just wanted that extra level of having a community. So yes, that's where I've come from. And sorry, I'm getting a bit tongue-tied here. But yeah, so the reason why I started getting into carnivore was my husband was diagnosed with diabetes, and nothing that we did worked until we started carnivore. And that was when we started seeing the big results. But I didn't realize the effects that it would have on me. So whereas the rest of my family have probably gone more animal based, they still include a lot of other things. I tend to be more strict carnivore, and I was for about 18 months before I started including a few little things which didn't work for me. So yeah, we all just, it's a big learning curve. I love learning everything that we're learning. I love learning about hydration, because for me it's a holistic approach. It's about hydration, fermenting, all the different avenues, and I get to discuss that with all of you. And I'm just so grateful to be here to learn from all of you and to be on this podcast to share everything that we're learning and that we've learned. So I'll hand it over to Hugo.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm Hugo, and my health journey actually started at a very young age. I wasn't aware of it at that point, but I later became the drive later on when I was in my teenage years. 12, 13, that's when I started looking into health. You know, it did help that I was actually extremely passionate in science and technology. And that made it easier for me to deep dive into those subjects that I liked. And I did all kinds of stuff. I tried figuring out how to improve my health. I went to doctors, tried to do the best I could to fix my health because it was affecting everything I did, my school life, personal life, everything. And I never had that balance, you know, I never had the reference of being healthy that, you know, almost everyone has, but I didn't. But I knew deep down that there was something seriously wrong and I needed to fix it. So that's why I hyper fixated on, you know, diagnosing, you know, finding the cause of my health issues. And it led me down to some wrong paths, which were, you know, helpful in the long run because I learned so much from those mistakes. You know, looking into genetics, you know, maybe some, you know, congenital illnesses, you know, all kinds of different ways, like maybe environment toxins. I really didn't dive into nutrition until the last few years ago, where I started eating much more meat and, you know, taking health into my own hands. I always knew that meat was healthy, so that wasn't the issue, but I just didn't have the direction. I had to figure it out all by myself, and I had significant improvements in my health when I started increasing my meat intake. When I removed seed oils, that was a significant change, maybe even in some ways bigger than increasing the meat. That really subdued the rheumatoid arthritis symptoms I have and potentially other autoimmune illnesses. And I felt so much better just by doing that. But I still didn't feel optimal. I felt like I was a ticking time bomb, you know, that there would be some illness that would prop up in a few years or a condition that would eventually like end my existence because I had worsening gut issues, even though I made all those changes. You know, I was getting better, but still my gut wasn't happy, and you know, it started looking like I was developing ulcerative or Crohn's, or maybe even stomach cancer of some kind, or an intestinal cancer. And because the symptoms did get more severe and quickly, and I couldn't even find a way to remedy that. You know, limiting seed oils was a big part of that, but still went on. And it wasn't until I tried Carnivore. I did 1 month of it, and I got significant improvements in just a few days. It took me 4 days to eliminate 70, 80% of my autoimmune issues. So that was just amazing, not having muscle or bone pain anymore, you know, and my gut calming down. That was just amazing. So I continued and I did the full month because that was my goal. And then I returned to the previous diet I had, which was meat heavy. I was eating hyper carnivorously, 70% meat or animal products. But I felt the difference, I felt sick when I returned to that diet. And it took me a month to just gather myself up and, actually go in with carnivore and see what happens. And I'm glad I did because I wouldn't have found this community if I hadn't done that and met all these amazing people and shared knowledge and life experiences. And I'm grateful for that. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Hugo. Thank you, Ashley and Cindy and Olivia. This is something that we talk about that I learned about. It's called N=1. And, all of our personal experiences is so important to ourselves because that's what helps us go to the next level or hopefully stay on course to something that's working for us. And I think Olivia has been the longest carnivore with us so far. I'm sitting approximately, I've been 3 years, but I've been up and down and just trying to get it honed in. So I'm about 2 years. Going around, can everybody say what time it is where you are and how long have you been carnivore? So I'll start with you, Olivia.
It's midday in the UK, and I have been carnivore for coming up to 4 years in a couple of months. But
Cindy?
I was keto for 2 years before that.
That's right, too. Yeah. Cindy?
It's 8 in the morning here in Michigan. Now I live just over the line in Michigan, and I started the Carnivore Challenge. It'll be 2 years coming up here in a couple of months, and I did really great for 3 months. I was totally strict, and I saw incredible changes. I was dealing with a lot of just inflammation pain in my body. I'd wake up in the morning and just be like, why am my whole body burning like this? Like I knew it was systemic, and so I felt a lot better. Life's been a bit crazy for me since then, so it's been a challenge for me. I deal with a lot of sort of the emotional eating wavering issue with stress in my life, but for the most part, I try to stay on the carnivore train. I feel so much better when I do. So coming up on 2 years.
Right on. Ashley?
I have been carnivore 2.5 years. April will be 3 years. I was very, very strict for the first 18 months. And I said, like at Christmas time, I decided to try 1 or 2 things, which then derailed me. And I then started including a lot more dairy and cheeses, also milk and cheese, which has upset me because my body doesn't really like it. So I do tend to do better on just without it, but it's getting off that again because I realized I couldn't have it, but I allowed it in. So yeah, that's probably where I've sort of fallen back and where I get my aches and pains and inflammation from is from the dairy. And that led to a few ice creams and things as well. But I am back being strict again and starting to see the benefits again because some of the symptoms will start coming back. And it is 11 p.m. in Australia, so it is 3 hours after my bedtime. That's why my brain's starting to switch off.
Thank you, Ashley. Hugo?
Yeah, it's 2 p.m. here, and yeah, I've been carnivore for 1 year and 9 months, I think. 8 months, I think. Yeah. So coming up on 2 years soon. So yeah, strict and lion diet 99% of the time.
Yeah, and wow, you're an inspiration to a lot of us. But we also too in the Discord, we have different challenges that we do too to do line diet and stuff like that. So this is what I'll say before we close out. And one of the biggest things I work at is living right now, right here in this moment, because we don't have tomorrow. We don't have yesterday. All we have is right now. And in this moment right now, I am carnivore. And I don't know about tomorrow, but what's working for me today that has done the most profound healing in my body is carnivore. And, you know, I suspect 20 years from now, I'll still be carnivore, but today is all I'm concentrating on. And today I'm carnivore. If anybody else would like to have one last comment, speak up. Free floor.
I think I'll just add, Kim, that, you know, we talked about our carnivore journey today, but what's quite nice about our community and where we're all at, and I think anybody who has been on an optimal diet for a good amount of time, you kind of don't really talk about your diet very much anymore. Like, you know what you're supposed to do. You either doing it, you're not doing it, you know how to get back on track if you need to, and always there's support for it. But a lot of what we want to talk about is the things that we talk about every day, which is other aspects of wellness. It's all the other parts of healing that that are you know, interesting for someone who wants to have optimal health. You know, your environment and, you know, sleep and circadian, all of that stuff is actually what we talk about more now, because that's where our learning curve is steeper. And so just to give people an idea what you know to expect, it's going to be definitely a lot of conversation about carnivore, but it's also going to be how we now progress beyond that, because we don't need to talk about it. We are already, you know, at a level of optimal health where it doesn't need to preoccupy conversations. And that's why we think it's quite an interesting journey for people to come with us on, because it's about community, what people talk about. It's very natural, and that's why it's real conversations, and that's why we called ourselves together Unprocessed, because that's exactly what we are.
Amen.
I
Thank
love
you.
that, Olivia. I'll say also that I think what drew me deeper into this group was when I discovered exactly what you're talking about, that there was more going on in this group. That's what was amazing. And I realized that we have a lot of things in common, the things that we're interested in. And I found out Kim was also doing cold plunging, and you too, Olivia, and just the conversations about mindset and all the different things that help us be a better human. And my business is called Essential Therapies. So to me, it was like, we're talking about all these therapies that are essential in our lives to be better and basically to feel better, because we all want to feel good, right? And if we're going to be here and enjoy life, let's do it in a way that helps us feel good. And we all have that in common, that we're searching for those things. And that's what I love about this group.
I was just going to say one more thing as well. I think being in this group allows us to bounce ideas of each other, and what works for Kim might not work for me, and what works for me might not work for Olivia. I like to look at it holistically. To me, my carnivore way of life is my one piece of the puzzle in the whole of who I am. So there are many different puzzle pieces along the way that I just find that help me. From, you know, trying things might work for me, like diving back into the cold plunging, because I gave that up for a while, but it might not work for somebody else. And that's the whole thing. It's just about opening up those things, opening up that thought process of, hey, this is something interesting, and going down and doing your own research and seeing if it's something that will fit into your way of life, if it's going to work for you or isn't going to work for you. I think that's the hardest, you know, the biggest thing. And to just be kind to one, you know, be kind to yourself. If it doesn't work, try something else, try the next thing, because you'll find whatever does work for you. That's all.
I would just
Yeah.
add that this is the only community where I actually feel like I know the people, you know, I'm conversing with, instead of, you know, just, you know, random people on the internet who you're just forgetting, and, you know, or just having brief conversation, but, you know, you don't really know them. So this community feels very different from that.
Right on.
Amazing.
And
Agreed.
you know, you all are, we're all amazing people, and oh my gosh, I can't tell you how much my life has changed. And so we want to keep, out of respect for each other and of course our listeners, we want to keep this at a very tight timing. One thing that we'd like to point out is we're not asking anyone to join us at all. All we're doing is just asking you to come along, listen. And if you like what you're hearing, just do a like, follow, share. That's all we're asking. There's no, come and join us or anything like this. We're just here, 5 friends, talking, having a real talk, and sharing it with all of you. So with that, thank you, everyone. And don't miss our upcoming episodes because we had a lot of fun doing them, and there's so much more to come. So I'd like to say good night to Ashley. Good afternoon to Olivia and Hugo. And enjoy the rest of your day. Sorry, what's that, Hugo?
Before we close, the group we're talking about is, the private group we have. We're not, we don't intend you to actually join us necessarily, but you're welcome to if you want to. But we're sharing this story we have on the internet, so you can participate even if you're not in the private group we have. So
yeah, good point, Hugo. And we'll have links down below too, like Dr. Chafee's Patreon. We'll have all kinds of links. We'll have links of all of our Instagrams and our private stuff, and the businesses that each person runs, like Olivia, Ashley, and Cindy. It'll all be. You can just click below. You'll see it all below. So, thank you. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.